Yeah, okay.
All right, everybody. It is Wintermute here with, what's your name again?
Jinx on
JINX, I
this.
think, in Fortress JINX. We are in video number 3, just kind of talking about version 4, giving some of our ideas, some of the things that we like, some of the things that we're keeping an eye on. So we're on chapter 4. So
Just
right
double
off,
checking, are you recording? Because I didn't get any voice saying you're recording.
I should be. Yeah,
Oh,
it says it's got to pause, stop recording, so I should be.
all right.
I better
Sounds
be.
good.
So right off, chapter 4, you still have the 7 standard major powers. You still have the minor powers, KMT and CCP, who can evolve into major powers. Kind of what you would expect. Now, there's a couple things here worth noting that Siam is now a minor power. And Mongolia is now a minor power, or a controlled minor power. Minor powers controlled by, excuse me. They're not minor powers, they're controlled by. So that's got, I mean, the fact that Mongolia is kind of a controlled minor now has kind of implications when we talk about the specific nations and how they play. Alignment, a lot of the, alignment and all that, I believe that's all pretty much the same. One thing that's different is you are like for scoring, until you are aligned, the major powers are aligned, they are not part of the same faction. So if Italy's neutral, it's not considered an Axis power. That is different. Controlling, I believe controlling works pretty much the same way.
Yeah, the only
You can't
difference
do
now.
anything goofy with them. What's that?
Yeah. No, never mind. Go ahead. Can't do
You
anything.
can't do
goofy,
anything
yeah.
goofy with them. You can't send lend-lease with them. You can send them lend-lease and things like that, depending on the child. And each one kind of has its own special rules. Neutrality is, again, a lot of this is pretty similar to what we're used to. Now, looking at the alignments, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, one little thing I'd throw in there, just because I had a talk with Cobra Wargaming before about neutral nations. And one of the things that we thought of was, it would be interesting because neutrals don't move their units whatsoever on the board, not whatsoever. And so they're kind of left at a disadvantage when nations declare war on them, because they're out of position, especially if it's an unexpected declaration of war that's ahistorical in some sense. So if somebody, let's say, currently Russia's not set up in a perfect, Turkey's not set up in a good way to defend against Russia. That's of course going to change in version 4, but likewise, Poland is not super well set up to defend against Russia, let's say. So we were thinking how it might be interesting mechanic to say, when a nation declares war against a neutral nation, the controlling nation, prior to any combat movements taking place by the nation declaring war, has the chance to shift some troops around one movement space within the interior of the country. And of course, single territory countries, they don't matter, but it might be interesting to do it that way, because the reasoning we had is, it's not like those people are just sitting around and waiting around for action. Go ahead.
I'm going to stop you, because my understanding is that so long as it's a controlled minor, you can move the units.
But not, it'll be on your turn, whereas the person declares war, it has to pair it with a combat movement. That's the way. That's a new rule.
Okay, so you are talking about minor powers that are not controlled.
No, I'm talking about when Russia or Germany declares war on Poland, things stop for a second. Britain comes in, moves some Polish units around, and then German turn resumes.
Oh, okay, I get what you're saying. Because let me clarify what I was talking about. Because like the Spain, fascist Spain. In this edition, in the old edition, they could basically, when the Spanish Civil War was over, they placed their units in these particular spots and it stopped. That's it, it's done. Now my understanding is, as long as they are still a controlled minor,
they can still move units.
They can still move them, even if they're not at war. They're at peace, but they can still move them.
I'm perfectly happy with that. My thinking was, because you could see the wars coming down the horizon. Even the Polish were preparing for a war with Germany for a long time, right? So it's like, it would be only fair to them, in my opinion, that they could in some sense prepare for that war by shifting some units around wherever they think is adequate defense, just as a reaction to what the Germans are doing, just to kick some life into them as well, and that way they're not just taken apart piecemeal completely, right? That would be my thinking behind it. There would be some potential gaminess around it where people just super stack a single province, but still, I think it would be worthwhile doing.
I that is a whole nother discussion. Okay, that is we can really go down the rabbit's hole with that one, because I've thought about this before. I had a different kind of idea and solution, or way of addressing it. We should probably shelve that and do a separate video about that.
Yeah, well, I don't want to talk about it with you. I already talked about it with Cobra Wargaming. Go check it out.
Oh, you did a video on it.
Yeah, I did a video on it.
Oh, I didn't realize you did a video on it. Okay, I have not seen everybody's videos. So
yeah, see, you're just a narcissist, just absorbed in your own videos, never checking out anybody else's.
It's not for lack of trying.
Right on. Okay, where were we?
Okay, aligning. So again, I think a lot of this alignment stuff is pretty similar. Controlling is pretty similar. Neutrality is pretty similar.
Yeah. The only difference, as far as I could see, is use each other's dockyards and shipyards for repairing capital ships. That's pretty cool. Use each other's bases for scrambling and movement bonus. Defend together when attacked. So that's kind of cool. That theoretically, I mean, yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah.
I mean, they become aligned and you switch out their pieces for yours. So it's effectively your territory then, but hey, it's still cool that they included it there. They might have already had in the previous version, but whatever.
So alignment and control conditions. So the nations that automatically align with the USSR are Mongolia and Republican Spain once it's won the Civil War. I'm glad that clarification is in there, where it doesn't align until the Civil War is over.
Yeah.
At the very least.
Yeah.
For the Axis, nations align with the Axis if the Allies declare war on them. Nations come under Axis control if they are attacked by the Allies, but the attacking nation is not at war with the Axis. Closest Axis and assign alignment, closest Axis major power home country. So just for example, now correct me if I'm wrong, Italy's not in the war. Let's say the Allies attack Iraq. The closest Axis home country is going to be Germany at that point.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Italy is in the war and they're both Axis, then it would align with Italy.
I see.
It is now the closest home country.
Right. So you're saying that the game starts with Germany being in the Axis, but the Italians not being in the Axis.
Correct.
Even though they are an Axis nation. Okay, I get you. Well, that didn't even occur to me. For me, the way I read that is, well, if a nation declares war against Turkey, it's automatically, even if Italy's not in the Axis or not, Turkey is automatically going to be played by the nearest Axis nation, which would be Italy, even though it's not technically in the Axis faction. It's still an Axis power. That's the way I read it. And this, I guess, would take some clarification. What do they exactly mean by that? Because I thought Italy was on the table for that.
Well, no, well, I'm talking about alignment, not even control.
No, yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah, but see, the reason I thought Turkey. Sorry, go on.
So in this case, if Italy's in the war, well, we'll use Turkey. Turkey is physically closer to Italy. When you count zones, I'm almost positive it's going to be near closest to Italy.
Yep.
But if Italy is not Axis, when Turkey gets attacked, the closest Axis major power home country is Germany. So it's going to align to Germany. It wouldn't make sense for it to align to Italy because Italy's not even in the war. Why would they align to Italy?
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and you're probably right, but I could see there being
potentially a little bit of gaminess there.
There is, yeah.
And I'm only saying potentially. I'm not
convinced that they wouldn't go to Italy, even if Italy's out of the war. No, you're probably right. You're probably right because, well, you're right. You're probably right because they would be at war. It would make sense that they would want to go to war, right?
Right, so because if they align, they have to align. There's no way they can align to Italy because Italy's not at war.
I was just thinking in the case of like Siam, let's say, right? Japan's not at war with the Allies, but then the British declare war on Siam, and then Siam aligns with Germany. Is like, that seems to be a bit of a stretch. Like, why wouldn't they align here? But that's the only way it could happen, because otherwise Japan would be forced to go to war against the British.
Yeah,
just by
no,
the British
actually, that's a
declaring
good
war.
point. That's a good point. Oddly enough, the way that this is worded, it seems
Mhm.
like they would automatically go to Germany. Because
Yeah,
if they are the only active Axis player at war with the Commonwealth,
Mhm.
Siam's gonna look at Japan, and Japan's like,
Sorry.
and
Yeah.
they're gonna go, all right, I guess we're
Yeah.
goose stepping now.
Yeah. Well, and it makes
seems
sense, right?
strange, but I mean,
Yeah,
that's, and maybe this is just sort of an unintended consequence.
yeah.
Maybe
Or
it
maybe it's
won't,
perfectly intended, and the designers are just fantastically good at predicting this kind of issue. And
well,
us little bumpkins had no idea. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna say, anyways.
well, until you play the, but again, so many times I've said this, until you play the game, some of the
Yeah,
stuff may just work out just fine.
that's right. Yeah.
And maybe this
Well,
did come up.
I
Maybe
think
this did
it.
come up several
I think
times,
it
and they're like, you
works
know what,
out.
we're perfectly
Yeah,
okay with it.
yeah. I think
We're
it
perfectly
works out
okay with
well
that.
as written.
As
There's
weird as it is for Siam to align with Germany, it makes the most sense
makes
because
the
they're
most
the
sense.
only
Yeah.
Axis, they're the
Because
only active Axis players.
alternatively, you would game the system by being like, I'm going to get the Japanese to go to war against me by declaring war on Siam. Thereby, the Japanese won't be able to use their surprise strike or whatever. Yeah. For any of the
Yeah, yeah.
viewers,
And
my neck is really
I
hurting
don't think
today.
that works. That doesn't work in
Yeah,
this
yeah,
thing. So
yeah,
maybe it works just fine the way it is.
yeah.
I'm simply pointing out that that's how it seems to work.
Yeah. Let's move on.
I do want to read, let's see. I wanted to say something. So allies, nations align with the allies if the Axis or Comintern declare war on them. Nations come under allies' control if they are attacked by Axis or Comintern, but the attacking nation is not at war with the allies. Okay, this one is, now there are stated exceptions, like if Russia goes into Finland, there's a whole mess there. But if Russia starts declaring war on nations that are kind of like not already falling under the umbrella of spheres of influence for particular nations, it goes allied. It doesn't go Axis, it goes allied.
Yeah.
That's an important thing to distinguish as well. Let's see, closest action, so all others go to Great Britain.
You could have an interesting circumstance where Russia declares war on Turkey and then become British controlled, and Russia's not at war with Turkey. And then Germany declares war on Russia, and then Germany absorbs Turkey and replaces all their units for Turkish units. Sorry, replace all Turkish units with German units. So you could have a nation like Turkey start off as neutral, then become British controlled, and then become aligned to the Germans and become effectively German units.
But if it's British controlled, it can't possibly become German.
Why not? Because here in this example here, USSR and Great Britain are not at war. USSR attacks Turkey and captures Eastern Anatolia. Turkey comes under British control. On British players' turn, it controls Turkey and can move around. At this point, if Germany declares war against Russia, it would be my understanding that it would go from British controlled Turkey to German aligned Turkey, and then Germany would replace all Turkish units for German units and capture all their territory.
I don't read that at all.
No? Oh, yeah.
No.
It makes
because
sense.
it says nations align with the allies if the Axis or Comintern declare war on them. Why would if Turkey's already aligning or close to aligning with Britain, why would they suddenly switch over to Germany because Germany goes to war with Russia?
Well, my thinking is it's because the first major nation at war with Russia would become controlled. So.
I don't read that at all.
Okay,
in there.
maybe I'm completely wrong, but that
I think you're getting version 3 mixed up with version 4 here. And I think version 4 is explicitly stating if the Comintern attacks it, it's going to Great Britain or America.
Yeah.
We'll just say Great Britain for the purposes of simplicity. It's going to Great Britain. Great Britain controls it. Now, it may never, ever, ever align to Great Britain, but Great Britain still controls it.
Okay, well, fair enough. I'm not going to get bogged down in this. I'm wrong in this one. I thought for some reason it was whoever declares war on it first essentially gets it, regardless of who has control over it. Moving on. Let's move on from there. I'm wrong. I've wasted our time.
Huh?
I've wasted our time, I say.
Oh, I don't think it was a waste of time. I think it was good to get that kind of hashed out. Bulgaria, Hungary, and Romania aligns with Germany if they're attacked by the USSR. After France surrenders, they can align them.
Yeah.
Now we're going to start touching on the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. We're probably going to do a whole video on that one alone.
Yeah.
But if the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact has been signed, USSR may annex Bessarabia, may not attack further into Central Romania. If they annex Bessarabia, the rest of Romania becomes a neutral minor power controlled by Germany. Romania aligns with Germany when Germany and the USSR are at war. Note, Germany does not get the +3 wartime bonus income from Romania so long as Bessarabia is possessed by the USSR.
So I think what they should do, just for purposes of the rule book, they should probably put up here where it says alignment and control. Maybe they should add this stuff about Romania up there as well too, because when you read this, nations align with Axis if the allies declare war on them, but it doesn't say anything about special conditions for certain nations like Bulgaria, Hungary, Romania. So whereas it does say down here,
That's because this is the special alignment subsection.
Oh, fair enough.
There's exceptions down here for all of this.
Right.
Now, my understanding is that while at this point, Romania is a controlled minor, Germany can still choose to annex it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't prevent it from annexing.
Yeah, that's right.
It simply adds another thing for them to consider. Do I want to wait to kind of like I've talked about before? Do I want to wait to annex them and then just go ahead and align Bulgaria and Hungary and then do them last, or do I want to annex them right away, but at the same time give Russia in exchange that increase? But I'm not going to get the +3 wartime bonus income for that oil until I take Bessarabia back.
Yeah. But
I like that.
Unless I'm wrong,
like that bonus has been, conditionalized to that.
Well, remember how it used to be the case that Russia would get a wartime peacetime income increase for any adjacent territory captured by anybody else, any other major power? So Bessarabia would exclude it at this point because Germany would align Romania, and so the dice 12 that the Russians used to get is no longer there, as far as I remember, anyways.
Okay, that is a good question. And I think that it is worth looking up right now because I have all the shit right here. USSR. Peacetime income increases. Axis captures or aligns land zones adjacent to USSR home country. Okay. Now, Bessarabia is not going to be, I'm assuming, not going to be considered home country. However, we don't know how the map is cut.
We don't know how it's cut. You're right. Yeah.
So
one would assume just by historical borders and such like that would be the case. So Russia's faced with this interesting quandary. Do we want to sign the pact, let the Germans take all of Romania, get their +3 bonus each turn, their wartime bonus, or do we want to grab that territory for whatever it's worth? I'm assuming 1 IPP, but we don't get to have that dice 12 roll,
Right. Yeah. And again, this goes back to, I wish we had just at least a demo version of the map, so we could answer some of these questions a little more thoroughly.
Totally, absolutely. So I was thinking, I was watching Doug's video that he posted for HPG, and at one point he put, and I wasn't watching, I was listening to it, and at one point he put like background images of different maps and such. I was like, hey, I wonder if version 4 is up there, as a backdrop. Maybe we could scope it out a little bit, zoom right in.
We wouldn't be so lucky.
No, probably not.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's being inundated with questions. Hey, when can we see the map? When can we see the map? Just see it. I just want to see it.
Yeah, just a glimpse, a quick one. Anyways, moving on.
And like I said, it doesn't need to be pretty. It doesn't need to be a final product, but just to answer some of these questions, because that will strengthen the fact the people who are combing through the rules right now on the Discord channel. It would strengthen their ability to kind of figure some of this stuff out.
Right. Yeah, to help feedback properly, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
So Finland, Finland's, again, there's a lot here with the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. It's not been signed, refer to 4.7. If it has been signed, if attacked by Axis or allies, refer to 0.7. If attacked by USSR, Finland becomes a neutral minor power controlled by Germany. If the Moscow Peace Treaty has been signed, Finland will not align with Germany at the time Germany and the USSR declare war on one another. If it has not been signed, Finland allies with Germany when Germany and US. So there's a lot of caveats.
Oh, there is. Yeah.
I'm not going to pretend that I have a full grasp on it.
Yeah.
I really want to sit down and play it out
Right.
and kind of think about it a
And
lot.
just really measure it out. Now there's some
But I want to wait till I have the map.
Yeah, there's some key factors, but let's say, so somebody's told me there's 4 territories. Currently there are 3. So you're going to have Lapland, you're going to have Viipuri, you're going to have Helsinki, and I'm assuming southern Finland. Now it depends on how they kind of, mix and match all that. If there's something nested within the other one, we don't really know. But Russia could move past Viipuri in this game. It could grab all of Finland if it wants to. So it could pick up a bit of territories there. And I guess at that point, they might not want to, though, because they're not going to be adjacent to their home country territories, which would allow, if my memory serves, it would allow the Allies to declare war on them. So they might be.
I think it has to be a nation on their border. So Finland as a whole would not count.
Okay, gotcha. I thought it was territories, but hey, you're probably right.
I'm pretty sure it's nations.
We should have done I should have done a little bit more research before I started this. Let's look.
You suck.
I know I've dropped the ball terribly on this one, just a sporadic.
Well, and some of this is stuff I've thought about a little bit before,
right?
So it's kind of like, okay, well, I'm pretty sure, but again, I reserve the right to be wrong about something. So, and there's still a lot of moving parts going on that people are taking into account. So
yeah. USSR possesses an originally neutral land zone outside of its sphere of influence. So the question is, we'd have to find again what the Russian sphere of influence is, which I have it here, should have it here. All originally minor power land zones adjacent to home country territory. So if I get it right,
Viipuri, some of that sounds different.
Yeah, Viipuri and Lapland, they are going to be adjacent to the home country lands. But if they go past into Helsinki, then the Allies can declare war on them, which reflects back to the victory point that they had that we were discussing there the other day, because they have a victory point if they capture Helsinki. And so that kind of changes things up a little bit for them too, where they might want it, but they also, there's also downsides to that as well. Move 1 or 2 of the following 3 technologies up 1 stage if they control Helsinki. So now I wonder, of course, sorry, go on.
I just read something that goes back to our Turkey discussion. But anyway, you were saying, go ahead. No, that's all good.
Okay,
so Iraq is pretty much the same.
Sorry, I should recorrect. Just sorry. Down here at the bottom of the page, USSR consider all originally neutral minor power land zones adjacent to its home country within its sphere of influence. So all of Finland would count as part of Russia's sphere of influence.
All originally neutral minor power land zones.
That really depends on how you emphasize that sentence. Like if you said all territory belonging to a neutral nation adjacent to Russian territory land zones, or if it's simply all territory adjacent to Russian home country land zones that belongs to neutral nations, right? It really depends, but I don't know, maybe I'm just confused today. I'm not tip-top shape.
Okay, I believe your original assessment that, because it says land zones, these are all originally neutral minor power land zones. It doesn't say minor powers. It says minor power land zones. I think that's pretty clear. So you're right. As soon as they go past that, if it doesn't touch home country, as soon as they go past it, then they're in trouble.
Okay,
if it's a neutral.
And it looks like this example lines up with that as well too. When they state the 3 territories of Poland, they don't refer to Warsaw. So that seems to be the case. So again, they have this other little dilemma of, should we sign it? because we might not want to go all the way to Helsinki, right? Should we sign the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact? Gone are the days from version 3 where it's like, yeah, I'm not going to sign. I'm just going to grab all of Finland. Now it's actually a little bit more of a dilemma, which is good. I like dilemmas in games.
I like that it doesn't seem like it does, if I'm reading it correctly, it doesn't, because before I didn't like that. Okay, we signed the pact, but we don't go into Finland, and then Finland still fully aligns with Germany. I never liked that. I think it made it too number one, historically, I don't think that would have happened. And number two, game mechanics, it made it too lopsided against Russia when they may have said, look, I don't want to go into Finland, but I do want to sign the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. And it was automatically kicking the nuts if they signed it because of that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, Sweden. If USSR declares war on a neutral Sweden, Norway, or Denmark, Sweden aligns with Germany and at the end of the Soviet combat phase. I think that's pretty much the same. Turkey, here we go. At the end of the combat phase, if at the end of the combat phase, there is a German land unit in Transcaucasia, a neutral British-controlled Turkey, a neutral or British-controlled Turkey, then immediately aligns with Germany.
Right.
So that kind of goes back and answers our question from before.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
If Russia attacks Turkey, it goes British. However, Germany gets in there, gets into Transcaucasia. Turkey goes, thanks, so long and thanks for all the fish there, Britain. We're siding with those guys because they've delivered the goods. You have not, presumably.
Yeah. Well, that's right. Yeah.
So Mongolia and Tanna Tuva. Mongolia begins as a USSR-controlled minor power. Mongolia and Tanna Tuva align with the USSR as soon as the USSR is at war with a major power. So in this version, they are saying Mongolia was so active in the war anyway, even though it did not declare war, it was so meshed with the Comintern, and it gave so many resources to the Soviet Union anyway. As soon as Soviet Union's at war, it just enters the fold. It just becomes part of the Soviet Union at that point, for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about that. I don't know how historical it is, but my reading is it's not that historical.
It's not far from the truth.
It's not far from the truth.
I have actually read up on it.
I know the Japanese.
Because I'm a big Mongolia fan.
Yeah, no, I know that. Yeah, I know the Russians were fighting the Japanese in Mongolia. I know there's quite a bit.
One thing to keep in mind is at this point in history, even at this point, Mongolia was kind of set up as a puppet state solely to serve the economic needs of Moscow.
That's right. Yeah.
Their entire infrastructure was set up based on serving the Moscow and what it needed.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
they're kind of saying, okay, and even though they technically were neutral throughout the whole war, for all intents and purposes, they were shipping resources to Russia left and right.
Yeah,
they were bankrolling Russian brigades that were named after Mongolian cities.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
I mean, they were part and parcel.
Well, that's perfect then. Well designed. Yeah.
So this I think it works. I think it works. It makes sense. It's not a victory point. Russia doesn't have to invade Mongolia anymore. So I don't have a problem with this. I think this is a good improvement because it's kind of along the lines of what I was suggesting that they should do with Mongolia anyway. And I like that they're showing Mongolia is active. They still have to worry about Japan. They did worry about Japan. They get the recruitment roles and so on and so forth.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Siam looks to be roughly about the same as Mongolia in that sense, except just a Japanese version. They do get recruitment roles. My concern is it's going to be kind of tedious, extra things that you have to remember to do on your turn. Maybe not, right? Because you're already rolling for CCP, so you're rolling for Mongolia. Germany's rolling for its stuff. It's one extra thing to do. The fact that Siam is a 1 dice, what is out of 12? Yeah.
Presumably, it's still one spot, one location, or one land.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't have a problem with it.
No, I think it's a little bit tedious, but that's just me.
All
right, fair enough.
I don't have a problem with that at all. But then again, I don't shy away from complexity.
Yeah.
And if it, and I mean, like I said, I made a checkoff sheet for that sort of thing.
Yeah,
so
that's all right. Yeah. I just think it might be better off to be like, just give them one extra unit of 39, because that's roughly statistically, things work out according to statistics.
Yeah, and that's not a terrible argument, because maybe they should have just, instead of being a controlled. Now, being a controlled miner allows them to move their stuff around prior to alignment.
Yeah.
So that is one advantage.
So the
Now,
ships are gonna.
I'm not saying they have a ton of stuff to work with, but there might be some reason to do that.
Yeah, but yeah, then it's just gonna essentially just gonna allow them to game the system a little bit. It's like, I'm gonna move my torpedo destroyer to the Sea of Japan and hang out there.
I don't think it's that big.
Oh, fair enough.
In this case, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Yep, no, it's a minor quibble of no consequence.
Deal in other places, but in this case, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
All right, minor quibble of no consequence then.
So Poland aligns with Great Britain as soon as Great Britain is at war with a major power. So this one's a lot clearer, I think, than version 3. It just happens. It just aligns. As soon as Britain's at war with a major power, it just aligns.
Yep.
Version 3, I think, had some confusion about when and how it aligned.
Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah.
So we already kind of went over sphere of influence, pretty straightforward. I mean, not straightforward, but we understand it.
Yep.
So Chinese warlords. Now this is a carryover from the expansion.
Yeah.
And I can say that having played the expansion, I did email with one of the designers and I suggested that this be put in the base game, and he told me that it already was.
Nice. Well, that's cool.
For version 4. He goes, yep, we agree, and it's going to be put in there. Because too many times it sucks for the CCP. They're already starting really, really behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
And I have a problem with that. But then an early declaration of war by Japan just locks them in and their game is done.
Exactly. Yeah.
They're just waiting to die basically at that point. And so this gives them some play. Now there's always a chance they just have a bunch of bad rolls. But if somebody wants to go back and watch my China video where I talk about this expansion and the permutations of this rule and how the CCP can influence people in a certain way to maximize this role when it happens, I think that's a lot of things to consider too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
this puts a lot of there's a lot to take into consideration for the CCP right now, whereas I think they didn't have many interesting decisions before. Basically, I'm either going to influence that guy or that guy. Oh, I'm going to build a militia. I'm going to influence that guy or that guy. And I'm
that's right. Yeah.
I mean, they really, it was very different. A series of bad rolls, they never got out of the gate.
No, that's right. Yeah.
This helps them, even if they have a series of bad rolls, it helps them get out of the gate. They don't get stuck there. They at least can kind of move forward a little bit.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna pause the video. Well, you know what, that can
wait.
Sorry. Spain. So the Spanish Civil War is okay. This isn't going into Basically, the conditions for aligning Spain after
have changed. Yeah.
Really haven't changed.
Yeah. If they control London or both Gibraltar and Lesser Egypt.
Or Lower Egypt. It says lower.
Oh, mine says lesser.
We might have different iterations.
Probably do. Yeah. That's fine.
They might have changed that. And I can see that. Yeah, that's.
Yeah. I printed mine off, I don't know, a week ago, something like that.
Yeah, you may have a slightly more up-to-date version. Well, this is the one I just got.
Oh, you're looking online. Yeah, so somebody already corrected. Nice, well done. So it's on the go corrections. Yeah.
Republican victory. So will align with the USSR after combat phase if attacked by the Allies or the Axis.
So I like the fact that you can use Germany can use Spain's naval bases for repairs, import, and movement bonus. That's nice, right? You get
as a controlled miner,
as a controlled miner, and likewise with the Republic of Spain. Yeah, that's a good little addition there. Moving on.
France. Now you and I have both said that so it talks about French surrender. Paris is enemy possessed, or all land zones surrounding Paris are enemy possessed. And you and I have both talked about how we think that is an excellent way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well designed.
The historical difficulties that France faced.
That's right. Absolutely.
In a not heavy-handed kind of way, because it forces the French player to basically there's no possibility of them covering all their bases. So somewhere they're weak, somewhere there's something to be exploited.
Yeah.
And you know, basically at any given moment, the Germans, as a general rule, only need to ever fight half their
Sure.
army.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the French were so sick of war at that point that they were just, you know, not that they wanted to surrender, but they were just done with it, right? So,
well, yeah, they weren't exactly chomping at the bit to get back into the fucking war.
no, they lost so much manpower in World War One that by World War Two, they're like, yeah, no.
Yeah. So yeah, but now the big thing, the big takeaway though is, I just wanted to point out, you know, they become Free France when they surrender, and then you do the creation of Vichy. I did not see anything super different about the creation of Vichy in this edition. Oh no, okay, there is something different. I did, okay, so for all other French units on the board, that's the second chart, and then for ships in the French build queue, that looks about the same. But now they have, for each French naval unit in port, in French home country, or in captured land zones, roll a d12.
Yeah.
And one thing I would point out, it does specifically state up here, there is an order. They want you to roll for the Vichy Navy first, then roll for French territories. I'm assuming there's a very specific reason for that, but that's worth pointing out, that there is a very specific, that they do specifically state that. Now, I'm also assuming that they want you to do it within this order that they have listed here. So you're going to roll for the French naval units in port and home country or in captured land zones. Then you're going to roll for every other French naval unit on the board. Then you're going to roll for the ships in the build queue. I'm assuming they want you to do it in that specific order. I agree. And then French territories, I believe this is kind of the same, in terms of they've lumped them all together. If it's not on that list, you roll for it individually, like Syria is not on that list. The stuff in the Pacific, they all becomes Japanese possessed if they go Vichy. And Vichy is an Axis minor power controlled by Germany. Vichy can receive lend-lease from Germany, southern France.
The rest of it's pretty well the same. You know, this is my second
one
read
thing
through of it.
that is different is that I know is that if Paris is liberated, Vichy surrenders immediately. I'm almost positive in third edition it was if southern France is captured, Vichy surrenders immediately. This says Paris. That is an important difference.
That is, sure.
Because I remember specifically talking with the allied player about, hey, if we get an opportunity to go knock Vichy out, do we want to take it? Is it worth it, depending on the circumstances? But even to just get in there, take it out, we know we're going to get pushed back off, but when we take it, Vichy falls. Here, you have to take Paris.
That's right. But it would work in version 2, it would work both ways as well. Take Paris or southern France. Now it's just take Paris. So it's become easier, harder.
Well, harder than it was in version 3.
Yeah, that's right.
Because you have to land and then you have to go.
That's right.
Paris.
Yeah.
Here, you know, in version 3, you could just go. If you saw like you had just the right amount of American and or British ships there, or transports, and
that's right.
Hey, their navy's gone or it's out of position. We can go take Vichy, take them, liberate everything. And we know Germany's going to come in and push us off. No biggie. But to get all those Vichy areas, roll over to Free French. Is it worth it? That's something worth looking at. Here,
that's right.
It's more or less off the table.
Yeah, that's right.
As a low hanging fruit, you can go knock out Vichy for the sake of knocking out Vichy, or southern France, but it never goes away.
No, that's right.
Presumably
it's going to be a going concern.
Yeah,
I like that. That's a good addition.
I'm okay with that. I don't see an issue with that. And Vichy and Free France are an internal French conflict. They can attack each other, so on and so forth. I had a discussion a while back with a buddy of mine about the historical accuracy of Britain not being able to invade or engage with Vichy ships.
That's
and
true.
It's a really messy thing. And that might be something worth exploring in an expansion, though.
That's true.
Making that much, because there was, but there wasn't, and it was this very, and
Yeah.
some countries recognized Vichy as a legitimate government, some did. Some you would be surprised recognized Vichy as legitimate government, some did not. It was
Yeah,
a very
that's right.
messy thing.
That's right. Yeah, it is. Yeah. I mean, it's on par with doing stuff like, well, when the Americans land in North Africa, you know, maybe Vichy is not going to respond aggressively, right? Like it's one of those
Right,
things
yeah,
that
yeah, and there was a lot of, you know, just go in and talk with the Vichy governor.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get him
Yeah.
to lay down his
Yeah.
arms and not
Yeah.
fight.
Yeah.
You know, there was some diplomacy
Yeah.
going on there.
That's right.
Not
Yeah.
an
So
option here in this version, but that is worth exploring, I think, in an expansion.
it's a tangled web though, and for simplicity's
Oh, yeah.
sake, I'm glad they didn't really throw it in there. Just for simplicity's sake, there's a, you know, that could be a feet that you could throw in, like you said, an expansion. But yeah, it's probably good. And that's it. That was I feel like I wasted a lot of time in this one. I feel like I wasn't on the ball as much as I should have been, but right on.
Whatever.
Improvements. So far,
and I'll admit, I have specific things in the back of my head that I kind of went, okay, let's see how this is going to work. Okay. So I put a little bit, and I've got I've got notes of like, oh, that's different. Oh, that's the same. How do I feel about that? Or, hey, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now,
normally I read through it beforehand too, but not, I mean, I've read through it once already before, but you know, I like to review it beforehand. So next time.
So we'll probably wrap up here.
Yep.
Next is War and Peace, which I think is also going to be, it's going to be deceptively long. For a couple,
wrong?
Long. Like
Okay,
you think it would be short, simple, easy, straightforward, but not necessarily.
Yeah,
I think there's a bit of quite a bit of discussion to be had in that one, potentially.
Yeah.
And then on to Pacts and Truces, Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. Some of the other things that have changed. And then we'll finally start getting into units in combat.
Yeah. That's right. Excellent. Okay, I will catch you later.
All right, cool. This is Wintermute out.